Rev up your engines!
Well, here's some interesting news from some of my old stomping grounds in York, Ontario. People are using Apple AirTags to help steal cars. They got little tags and it traces you can find where things are. They're magnetic things. They're sticking them on people's cars at airports or whatever, and then they follow it back to their home, and when they're sleeping, they steal their cars. Well, you know, sometimes maybe you don't want everybody to know where you are. They're tiny little things. They only cost like $29. The thieves go to public places, parking lots, wherever, and stick them on, and then they can follow them, see where they live. They're targeting high-end cars now. This just isn't every day. They say, well, there's an expensive one. Let's see where they live. And then they come by later and they follow it with their AirTag information on their Apple phone, and they steal the car. Now, of course, if you have an iPhone, there's ways to look to see what's going on, but let's face it, many people don't have iPhones. I don't have an iPhone. I'll never buy one. I don't like Apple products. They're overpriced junk as far as I'm concerned. The Androids blow them away with their capabilities and lower prices once they put it on there on your car, and if they do, then look around and find it. But North York, Toronto people are stealing cars using them. I thought Canadians were honest people now. Here we go. The Japanese and Honda, they have a practical solution to self-driving cars to help make them work better. They've launched a pilot program to monitor lane markings on the actual road. If you've ever had a car that goes by lane markings, you'll notice one thing. The system completely falls apart when the lane markings aren't there, that are wrong. We were driving between Rhode Island, Massachusetts a bunch when I was in Rhode Island, and there was a section of road that they were working on. Both my wife and I were whining, where's the road lanes? Because they didn't paint them right, and some of them, the lines were painted crooked. Some of them were on the side. Some of them were in the middle of the lane. Now, are humans going to figure it out? Well, we're just guessing. This is pretty much the middle of this side, right? Well, the computers can't do that. So what Honda's system is doing, they're monitoring all the road lanes, and then they want to get a relationship with the governments that maintain the roads to say, okay, this section here, you got to fix that because your markings aren't right. Even for people with regular cars, I'm all for Honda doing this so they can paint the roads so everybody can drive safely and see the roads the way they're supposed to be. Because, I mean, there in Massachusetts, you see so many lane markings that were wrong, pointed in the wrong direction. Half were there, half weren't there. As we all know, the government needs monitoring if you want to keep them going because it's extremely inefficient. And if nobody's watching what the workers are doing, believe me, they'll do whatever they want. Now, Honda's starting it in Ohio. You might wonder, why the heck are they doing it in Ohio? Because Honda's got a big deal going on in Ohio. There are big factories there where they test things. A big giant track. I've been there. I've driven on the track there. That's why they're doing it in Ohio. They're going to use 4 grades for the lane marking system. Green, yellow, gray, and red. Green and yellow means ideal to good. Gray means there are no markings. And red means needs repair. I think they need to add another one. There are markings, but they're in the incorrect direction. They're going to find there's some of those too, you know. Then they sent all this data to the Ohio Department of Transportation, wishing for something that may never happen that way, but at least you could say they got the information about it, right? They know that's that bad. And you could always play it forward, too. Like if somebody gets wrecked and the line markings are wrong, then they could go to the data and say, you guys knew about it, didn't fix it. So that would maybe kick them in the rear end to make them actually do it correctly. So kudos to Honda for actually doing a practical solution for semi-autonomous driving instead of just all talk. They got some real action going here. Zoe says, how do I choose a vehicle diagnostic scan tablet? Which brand is best? I could spend hours giving you the pluses and minuses of hundreds of different types of scan tools. Depends on what you want to spend to begin with. Let's say you don't mind spending $150 to $250. Those Innova scan tools are probably the best. INNOVA. I believe the O'Reillys now sell them as their house brand. They're excellent. For that kind of money, you get a really lot of information. On the other hand, they also have $50 to $80 scan tools. Maybe that's all you need for as far as you're going to go. It depends on how far you want to go. And just realize one thing about scan tools. The law of diminishing returns applies with a bullet. As they get more expensive, you get less and less extra things. I have a machine that can decode keys, right? Do your keys. You can make keys with it. All right, the thing costs $2,500. And yeah, it can decode keys. I got a $1,200 machine that does just as much, but it doesn't do decoding keys. If you're not going to code keys, do you care? No, of course you don't care, right? So in your case, look at the Innovas. And if you're curious, like I said, I believe the O'Reilly Auto Parts stores, it's their name house brand that they sell now, the Innova. Decide. And they're very open-minded people there. They might say, go plug in your car, see if you like it. And if you you don't, try another one. They're very open-minded at those stores because they want to sell you stuff and they're honest, so you could actually try it out at the store, not, well, I bought it on eBay and I don't like it, but I can't get my money back. No, it's the advantage of those stores. Winnemank says, have you heard about problems with the 2008 Lexus RX 400 Hybrid? I purchased a used made in Japan 2008 Lexus RX 400 Hybrid all-wheel drive with 250,000 kilometers on it. I don't know if the odometer's been tampered with. What do you know about these cars? Lexus makes excellent cars. They're higher maintenance. The parts cost a fortune. Give you an idea, my wife's 300 V6 Lexus Brakemaster cylinder cost me $150. On the 400, some of the Brakemaster cylinders you got to buy assemblies. Some of them are $1,500 to $1,900 just for the part. You add into that a hybrid system that is extremely complex and expensive. I'm not a fan of people buying these things used. You got 250,000 kilometers on it. When something breaks, you're going to absolutely crap in your pants when you find out what the cost is for those things. Lexus, they don't have the aftermarket that Toyota does. It's a hybrid car. A lot of the parts you got to buy at the dealer. And a lot of people won't even touch hybrid cars. I know excellent mechanics all over the country. Very few of them will touch work on hybrid cars because they don't want to get involved with the liability of high voltage. Things could happen, that they need all these special tools. Even something as simple as a Toyota Prius. The hybrid systems, they use an Atkinson cycle engine. Some of them, the head gaskets blow. I can't find anybody who'll work on the engines because they say we don't work on Atkinson cycle engines. And the Toyota dealer, the one guy that had one, they wanted $5,500 just to do a head gasket job. You know, that used to be like an $800 job. But nobody will touch them outside the dealer. They don't have the equipment, they don't have the experience. Realize you're getting into another world when you're buying a luxury hybrid. As it ages, it can get very expensive to repair, even though it's a Lexus and it's well made. Run All Around says, Hyundai's replacing my dad's engine in an 011 Entra for free. It was knocking with 230,000 kilometers. He went to the service and said they're going to replace everything except the head. He was happy. Now he might get another 100,000 kilometers. Would you say this is rare? Well, they have to because there's a law for it. They had to recall a bunch of those engines. And here's the stinker of the whole thing. They're replacing the whole engine except the head. Hey, how come they're not replacing the head? It's worn. Basically, a worn part going on new parts. Not the smartest thing. You might as well as replace the whole thing, but that shows how cheap they are. I have had customers with Kias and Hyundais have the engines repaired like that. Within a year, they blew up again because they didn't do such a hot job putting them back together again. Understand one thing, these days, not that many mechanics actually rebuild engines. So they got guys rebuilding that don't have that much experience doing it, and they're told, hurry up and get it done. We're not getting paid. This is a free job, right? Not exactly the scenario for rebuilding an engine. They're supposed to take their time, do it correctly. And really, in the real world, if you had a car with 250,000 kilometers on it, you're rebuilding the engine, you would not reuse the head. You'd put another head, or you'd rebuild the head. You will put the old head on top of it. What the heck? Total nonsense. They're doing a half-assed job. Let's hope that it lasts. But like I say, I've had customers that had that rebuild done. Within a year, the engine's broke again because they did such a crappy job. I had the same thing happen with customers with Subarus, where they had to theoretically replace all the valve springs on these Subaru Boxer engines because they didn't build them right. And guess what? They broke within a year because they didn't fix them right when they put them back together again. And then they just said, well, we did it under the warranty. There's no warranty for the warranty. So, the best thing is to get a Toyota or a Honda where you don't have to take the engine apart and fix it. Whether they do it for free or not, ask them what the warranty of their work is this time, and it probably won't be much. It says, I have crank but no start in my vehicle. Fuses and relays are good. Injector circuit had continuity, but there's no RPM during cranking. It has no ignition. Help. In many cars these days, the crankshaft position sensor is what's used to trigger the ignition. They don't have distributors anymore. It's all done by computers. The crankshaft position sensor first. Sometimes the sensors go bad, sometimes the wires go bad, and sometimes, like on American cars, where they're on the front pulley, the teeth of the pulley get broken, and then they don't read, and you got to buy a new harmonic balancer assembly because that part breaks. Let's say you crank the engine, look at the harmonic balancer. If you see it wobbling around, that's your problem. Now, it could also be computer failure, ground wiring. Check all the ground wiring because realize all those computer circuits work on ground fault. So if the system isn't grounded right, the computers can't get the power through and you won't have any ignition. Pray it's something as simple as a crankshaft position sensor because it often is on many modern day cars. When you lose that, you don't get any spark because the computer doesn't know when to fire the spark. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.